your future.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen. It is I, Danked Lexicon, and welcome to a second video on genres. Last time we discussed the misconceptions surrounding these categories, and today we'll discuss their potential uses. But first, our crowdfunding campaign on Kickstarter is now live with only a few weeks to go. Witness our vision of steampunk in the Association of Ishtar, a multiverse of adventure and cosmic mystery. Not only do we offer a coloring book with illustrations by various artists from around the world, you can also start your collection of Association of Ishtar books, comics, and miniatures, including these bookends to support your growing collection. This Kickstarter also includes our upcoming book, Bound for the Sticks, which stars yours truly. Click the link in the description and pledge today. And with that, we continue today's lesson. It took us a while to get here, but I want our viewers to understand the difference between the perception of genres and how to use them. Too often I hear genres being discussed as a goal in itself. No, the goal is to make people want to read your books. At least that's my goal. But how do we achieve that? Well, first, you need to get to know your audience. If your reader wants fantasy, that is what you must deliver. Second, you need a good back flap. Too little discussed, but some writers start with writing the back flap before starting on the book. I don't, not yet, but I should. Third, what tools do we need to tell that story? As I explained before in our previous video, I treat genres like a toolkit with a certain set amount of equipment. And yes, you can mix and match the set equipment, but when you want to refurbish a kitchen, you come with your plumbing equipment and your friend comes with a bulldozer. Yeah, there's gonna be an issue. Now, one thing that's very important when starting any story is whether it's gonna be high on concept or low on concept. It's something that I talked about in various vlogs and blogs already. In order to deliver the experience you promise on the back flap, what kind of structure does it need? Promise a what-if scenario, or what would it be like to? It's high concept. If you write about characters overcoming obstacles, fulfilling a destiny, or a romance story, low concept might be the way to go. Now, what genre? Now, it might feel a bit weird to talk about this last, but here's the thing. I see a genre as a toolbox. Genres have tropes, cliches, points of view, and archetypical characters. And like for any task, you need the proper tools. Mortal Engines on the back flap reads like a high-concept story about driving cities duking it out on the wasteland. But in reality, it's a typical hero coming-of-age story, and the mobile cities are just a metaphorical backdrop. Another example is the modern Star Trek that has been turned into space fantasies with characters having destinies now and blah 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 blah. High concept is a lost art in Hollywood. Remember Sliders, Stargate, SDNG, Deep Space Nine, even Warehouse 13 did a better job. I mean, it was a fine show, but far from perfect. Some genres are better for high concept than others. Steampunk and sci-fi in general excel in speculative fiction. It's why it became a genre. Sci-fi speculates about the future. More fantastical elements have sneaked in through hundreds plus years of history, especially between the 30s and 60s, when New Age was very popular, and futurists believed that humanity could ascend to higher states of being. That never went away, but it's how they went about it. These stories weren't about characters overcoming evil or entering godhood. It was exploring the nitty-gritty of the ascension itself, often described from the outsider's perspective to get an idea of what this would be like to witness. The protagonist is often a point-of-view character rather than the main character. They see how stuff unfolds around them rather than being the center of the story universe, as is often the case in low concept. That's the nifty thing about high concept. It can be about the ordinary schmuck who just sees the world around himself unfold, rather than being at the center of events. Now here's the thing. We think in genres of terms of aesthetics, themes and cliches, but how does that help us become better writers? First off, to increase our knowledge of history. Genres have developed in certain ways for a reason. Cyberpunk, for instance, was a product of its time, just as romantic futurism. As our understanding of the universe grows and our perception of the future changes, sci-fi changes accordingly. It's why cyberpunk turned from futuristic speculation into a retro-futuristic aesthetic. It's an antiquated vision of the future. Steampunk resembles that as well. Aesthetically, it's the futurism of yesteryear. However, as a genre, it still holds up. These stories speculate on what could have been. And that is when steampunk is the right tool for the job, when dealing with topics and themes such as technological progress, societal change, and class conflict. Most of these are historical topics associated with the Industrial Revolution, the pop culture version of the Industrial Revolution at least. And then there are the typical subjects of sci-fi, like the relationship between humans and the technological environment, ambition, and future prospects. It's one of the reasons I like the statement that steampunk is cyberpunk in the past. Sci-fi stories set inside an alternate timeline, but when it comes to steampunk, there's a bit more to it than that. Let's look back to the arguments that genres are but marketing tools. Steampunk and similar niches have developed organically, but it doesn't mean there is no consistency. These genres have developed in an interesting time in which writers can take inspiration from a century of sci-fi literature and pop culture. I think that's very important to understand, that steampunk has a very unique quality to revive and keep alive antiquated cultural icons. That is what steampunk audiences want: historical costume dramas and pop culture references. Looking at steampunk as a tool, its application also makes more sense in including it in a fantastical setting. Still, for these tools to work as intended, you have to be careful not to use your wood saw on a piece of granite. You want to use your tools with maximum efficiency after all, and not to have them break because you're attempting to duct tape a blowtorch to a chainsaw. Still, I would like to see somebody try. A good example of using steampunk in a fantasy setting is The Guns Above. It's about an airship crew on board a scout vessel. It goes in great detail on how the airship works, the culture on board, and the horror of airship combat. It also demonstrates why airships wouldn't work in a post-flintlock age, but that's beside the point. The world is fantastical, and I'm totally fine with it. The point of the story is the airship and its crew. It's speculative fiction about what airship combat could look like, and no, it's not a fourth-rate ship of the line soaring the clouds. It's a cannonier's boat with a single cannon. Most fighting is done with muskets because firing cannons on a dirigible isn't a good idea overall. It's probably important to note the book is an exploration of what airship combat could be like. It's not about alternate history or how it all came about. For books like that, I'll have to direct you to authors like Harry Turtledove. And with that, we'll conclude this piece on genres. These can be useful tools, be it for marketing or how to structure your story. For me, a genre is an important framework for analysis, be it for fiction or our literary history. Thank you for watching. Please support this channel by liking and subscribing, and don't forget to check out our Patreon page, where you can support this channel. And with that said, I'm going to bid you adieu, and as always, make things your way.